2 months passed. The huge Rattel ship moved through space, stopping at different worlds. At each stop, fighters who had been taken from that world were returned home. Happy cries and tears greeted them as they stepped onto their native soil again. Jisoo watched these reunions from the ship. Each one made her more eager to see Earth again. But she was patient. She had promised to help all the fighters get home, and she kept her word. On the ship, things had changed. The fighters and the Rattel who chose to help them had formed a new community. They called their ship the Sanctuary now, not the Crucible. The fighting arenas had been changed into living spaces and gardens. Dalho and the Rattel who had been cruel were kept in the old cells, waiting to face justice on the Rattel homeworld. Jisoo made sure they were treated well, better than the fighters had been treated. "We are near the Rattel homeworld," Junho told Jisoo one day. "We will reach it tomorrow." Jisoo nodded. "Good. And then Earth." "Yes," Junho said. "Earth will be our last stop." The next day, the sanctuary reached the Rattel homeworld. It was a large planet with 3 moons and great cities that shone like silver. The ship sent messages ahead, telling what Dalho and his crew had done. The leaders of the Rattel world were shocked. They had not known about the fighting arenas or the captured fighters. Dalho had told them he was on scientific missions. "We will judge them by our laws," the Rattel leaders promised. "This will never happen again." Jisoo and her friends watched as Dalho and the other cruel Rattel were taken away. Dalho looked back at Jisoo one last time. "You have destroyed everything I built," he said. "No," Jisoo replied. "I helped end something that should never have existed. There is a difference." After leaving the Rattel world, the sanctuary set course for Earth. Jisoo spent the journey teaching her alien friends about human ways. She wanted them to understand her world before they arrived. "Will your people be afraid of us?" Mei-ryu asked in her mind voice. "Some will be," Jisoo admitted. "Humans fear what they don't understand. But they can learn. They can grow." Finally, after almost 3 months in space, the sanctuary reached Earth. They stopped the ship behind the moon, out of sight. "How should we approach?" Sunwoo asked. "We don't want to cause panic." Jisoo thought for a moment. "I will go down first, alone. I will contact my government and explain everything. Then we can introduce you slowly, the right way." Her friends agreed. Junho prepared a small ship to take Jisoo to Earth. Before she left, she said goodbye to her closest allies. "You are always welcome on my world," she told them. "And I hope to visit yours someday." "What will you tell them about us?" Taeyeon asked. Taeyeon had become a friend after helping the fighters take control of the ship. Jisoo smiled. "I will tell them the truth. That space is full of both dangers and wonders. That there are those who would harm us, but also many who would be our friends. And that humans need to prepare for both." The small ship landed in a remote area near Jisoo's home country. She stepped out onto Earth's soil for the first time in almost 6 months. The air smelled sweet. The gravity felt right. She was home. Within days, the world knew about the aliens. Jisoo's story was told everywhere. Slowly, carefully, her alien friends were introduced to Earth leaders. Plans were made for future meetings and exchanges of knowledge. One evening, Jisoo stood on a hill, looking up at the stars. Mei-ryu, Sunwoo, Junho, and Taeyeon stood with her. "What happens now?" Sunwoo asked. "Now we build something new," Jisoo said. "The sanctuary will be a place where different species learn from each other, not fight each other. A bridge between worlds." "And if others like the old Rattel come?" Taeyeon asked. Jisoo's face grew serious. "Then they will learn what the old Rattel learned, that humans may seem small and weak, but we are not. We adapt, we survive, and we protect our own." She looked up at the stars again, at all the worlds out there waiting to be discovered. "They locked me in a cage with monsters," Jisoo said softly. They never realized that to survive on Earth, humans had to become the most dangerous monsters of all, but also the most compassionate. That's our strength. Above them, the sanctuary orbited silently, a promise of both protection and friendship for Earth in the vast, unknown galaxy. The Krad's beast charged at Jisoo like a train. Its 6 legs moved in perfect rhythm, and its mouth opened wide to show rows of sharp teeth. The crowd roared, waiting for blood. Jisoo waited until the last second, then moved. She stepped to the side and let the beast rush past her. Its claws missed her by inches. The beast skidded to a stop, confused. It turned to face Jisoo again, growling deep in its throat. The crowd grew quieter. They had expected the human to die right away. Jisoo circled the beast slowly. She watched how it moved, how it balanced its heavy body on its 6 legs. The beast was strong but slow to turn. That was something she could use. The beast charged again. This time, Jisoo didn't just dodge. As the beast passed, she grabbed one of its back legs and pulled hard. The beast stumbled and fell on its side with a loud crash. A surprised murmur went through the crowd. In the special box, Dalho stopped laughing and leaned forward to watch. The beast got up quickly, angrier now. It swung one heavy leg at Jisoo's head. She ducked under it and struck back, hitting the beast in a soft spot under its jaw. The beast roared in pain. It tried to bite Jisoo, but she was already moving, staying just out of reach. The beast was getting tired. Its movements were slower. Jisoo looked around the arena as she moved. She saw a broken piece of metal sticking out of the sand. It must have been left from an earlier fight. She backed toward it, letting the beast follow her. The human is smarter than it looks, Taiyan said to another alien scientist watching the fight. Look how it studies its opponent. Look how it plans. When Jisoo was close to the metal piece, she pretended to trip and fall. The crowd cheered, thinking she had made a mistake. The beast sought its chance and rushed forward to finish her off. But Jisoo wasn't really hurt. As the beast reached her, she rolled to the side, grabbed the metal piece, and drove it deep into the beast's front leg. The beast screamed, a high sound that hurt the ears. It tried to pull away, but Jisoo held onto the metal, twisting it deeper. Dark blue blood poured from the wound. The crowd was silent now. This was not how the fight was supposed to go. Jisoo pulled the metal free and rolled away as the beast tried to crush her with its weight. Now the beast was limping, one leg useless. Jisoo had changed the fight. She was no longer just running and hiding. Now she was hunting. She moved in close, struck hard at another leg, then backed away before the beast could bite her. Again and again she did this, always moving, always watching for her chance. The beast was slow now, bleeding from many wounds. Jisoo saw her opening. She ran straight at the beast, slid under its belly, and drove the metal shard up into the soft flesh she found there. The beast made one last terrible sound, then crashed to the ground. It kicked a few times, then lay still. The arena was completely silent. No one in the crowd made a sound. Then Dalho stood up in his box, his 4 eyes wide with surprise. "The human wins," the announcer finally said, sounding confused. Jisoo stood over the dead beast, breathing hard but calm. She looked up at Dalho and the other aliens watching her. Then she did something that scared them more than her fighting. She smiled. Guards came into the arena to take Jisoo back to her cell. They kept their distance, watching her carefully. They no longer treated her like a weak creature. Now they moved around her like she was dangerous. Back in her cell, Jisoo washed the blue blood from her hands. Her plan had started well. The aliens now knew humans were not weak, but this was just the beginning. She had many more fights ahead, many more chances to learn about this place, and someday, a chance to escape. 3 weeks passed. Jisoo fought 5 more times in the arena. She won every fight. In her second match, she faced a creature made of living rock. It was slow but hard to hurt. Jisoo led it around the arena until it was tired, then pushed it over. It could not get up. Her third fight was against two fast animals with poison tails. Jisoo made them sting each other by jumping between them at the right moment. Word spread through the ship about the human fighter. Aliens came to watch her matches. They no longer laughed when she entered the arena. Now they watched with interest. After winning her sixth fight, Jisoo was moved to a new cell in a different area. This was the Tier 3 section, where the better fighters lived. The cells were larger and the food was better. On her first day there, Jisoo heard a soft voice in her mind. "Hello, human fighter. I am Miru." Jisoo looked around and saw a tall, thin creature in the cell next to hers. Its skin was pale blue, and it had no mouth, just large silver eyes. "You can speak in my mind?" Jisoo asked quietly. "Yes, I am from a world where we all speak this way," Miru's voice said in her head. "I have been watching your fights. You are very smart." "Thank you," Jisoo said. "How long have you been here?" 2 years, Miru answered. "I am in Tier 5 now." "The fights get harder with each tier." Jisoo nodded. This was good information. "Are there any other humans here?" "No, you are the first I have seen," Miru said. "But there is Sunwoo in the cell across from yours. His body is made of living crystal, but he thinks much like you do." Jisoo looked across the walkway. In the cell opposite, a being that looked like a man made of clear glass watched her with glowing eyes. He nodded to her. "We who think alike must help each other," Sunwoo said in a voice like bells ringing. "The Rattel do not expect us to work together." "The Rattel?" Jisoo asked. "That is what they call themselves," Miru explained. "The brown-skinned ones who run this ship. They have been taking fighters from many worlds for hundreds of years." That night, Jisoo, Miru, and Sunwoo talked for hours. They shared what they knew about the ship, the guards, and the arena system. Jisoo learned that no fighter had ever made it past Tier 10. Those who got that far faced the Rattel champions, who always won. "But you fight differently," Sunwoo said. "You use your mind more than your strength." "On my world, we have a saying," Jisoo told them. "The smart fighter finds a way to win without fighting at all." Over the next few weeks, Jisoo won more matches and made more friends among the fighters. They began to trust her. She learned which guards were cruel and which ones might be kinder. She collected small things from the arena: a piece of wire, a sharp stone, a strip of cloth, and hid them in her cell. Taeyeon, the Rattel scientist, came to watch Jisoo train one day. "You are different from the other humans we have captured," Taeyeon said. "How many humans have you taken?" Jisoo asked, trying to sound calm. "Only 3 before you," Taeyeon answered. "They did not last long. But you adapt. You learn. This is interesting to me." Jisoo saw a chance for more information. "Your people must know a lot about many worlds." "Yes, we have a great library of knowledge about all the places we visit," Taeyeon said proudly, "including your Earth." Jisoo's heart beat faster, but she kept her face calm. The Rattel knew about Earth. This was important news. That night, she whispered to Miru and Sunwoo, "I need to find a way out of here. Not just for me, but for my world." "It has never been done," Miru's voice said in her mind. "But if anyone can find a way, it is you, Jisoo of Earth." Jisoo sat in her cell, counting the minutes. Her match with the shapeshifter had ended 2 hours ago, 1 hour to go before the plan started. The guards had cleaned her cuts and given her new clothes. They watched her closely now. They knew she was dangerous. What they didn't know was that she had been holding back in all her fights. "Are you ready?" Miru's voice spoke in her mind. "Yes," Jisoo thought back. "Is everyone in place?" "Sunwoo is near the power center," Miru answered. "Junho has reached the control room. He is hiding, and I have spoken to 20 other fighters who will help us." Jisoo nodded. "Good. When the lights go out, I will move. For the next hour, she sat quietly. The guards thought she was resting after her hard fight. But inside, Jisoo was going over every part of the plan. Then it happened. At exactly 3 hours after her fight, the lights in the whole ship went out. Emergency red lights came on, but they were dim. Alarms began to sound. Jisoo moved fast. She took out the small pieces of metal she had been hiding in her cell. She had shaped them into lockpicks. In the darkness, she reached through the bars and worked on the lock of her cell door. The guards were confused, looking around as the alarms kept ringing. One guard came close to Jisoo's cell. "Stay back from the door, human," he ordered. Jisoo smiled at him, then pushed the door open. The guard's 4 eyes went wide with shock. Before he could shout, Jisoo was on him. She hit him hard in the neck, and he fell. She took his weapon, a long stick that could shock or hit. Then she opened Miru's cell. "It's working," Miru said. "Junho has locked the control room doors. The Retel can't stop what's happening." All through the ship, cells were opening. Fighters who had been waiting for this chance rushed out. Some wanted revenge, some just wanted to escape. All followed the plan Jisoo had made. Jisoo and Miru ran down the hall toward the arena. Guards tried to stop them, but Jisoo moved faster than they expected. She wasn't holding back now. She used all her training, all her skill. One guard fired a weapon at her. Jisoo rolled under the shot, came up behind the guard, and took his gun. Now she was really armed. "This way," Miru said, leading her down a side hall. "Dalho will be in the main control center. That's where we need to go." They fought their way through the ship. Other escaped fighters joined them. Sunwoo found them near the eating area. "The power systems are damaged," he said in his bell-like voice. "They can't lock all the doors now." Jisoo nodded. "Where is Junho?" "He's in the ship control room," Miru answered. "He's trying to take control of the whole ship." More guards came at them. Jisoo fired the gun she had taken, hitting 2 guards. The others backed away in fear. The human is leading them. One guard shouted into a small device, "All fighters to the main hall." Jisoo and her friends ran faster. They had to reach Dalho before the Retel could gather their forces. They turned a corner and found themselves in a large round room. It was the main control center. Screens on the walls showed different parts of the ship. Many Retel were working at control panels. And at the center, on a raised platform, stood Dalho. "Stop them," Dalho shouted when he saw Jisoo. Guards moved toward them, but Jisoo fired. Dalho backed away from Jisoo, his hand moving to a weapon at his side. Before he could grab it, Jisoo fired her gun at the floor near his feet. Dalho froze. "Don't move," Jisoo said. "Tell your people to stand down." Around the control room, Retel workers watched with fear. Some had weapons, but they did not dare to use them with Dalho in danger. "Do as she says," Dalho ordered, his voice shaking. "Lower your weapons." The Retel put their guns down. Jisoo's friends moved into the room, watching for any tricks. "Miru, can you find Junho?" Jisoo asked. Miru closed her silver eyes for a moment. "He is coming. He has control of the ship's computers now." Just then, the doors opened and Junho entered. He was a small Retel with only 3 eyes. He wore simple clothes and walked with a limp. "I've locked out the other control stations," Junho said. "Only this room can fly the ship now." Jisoo nodded. "Good. Now we need to free all the fighters still in their cells." On the screens around the room, they could see fighting in many parts of the ship. Some Retel guards were still trying to stop the escaped fighters. "Open all cells, level 1 through level 8, Junho said as he worked at a control panel. "Emergency doors are now locked. Retel security teams are trapped in the lower levels." Dalho looked at Junho with anger. "You betray your own kind." "You betrayed our kind first," Junho said. "The Retel were once a good people. We explored and learned. We did not take slaves and make them fight for fun. The ship is ours, Sun Wu said, his crystal body glowing in the dim light. What do we do now, Jisoo? Jisoo looked at Dalho. Where is the Rattel homeworld? Dalho laughed. I will never tell you that. You don't need to, Junho said. I can find it in the ship's computers. Dalho's laugh stopped. What are you going to do? Kill us all. That would make you no better than us. Jisoo shook her head. No, I'm not like you. I don't kill for fun. She turned to her friends. We're going to take all the fighters home. Every person you stole from their world will be returned. The other escaped fighters who had joined them cheered. Many had been prisoners for years. And then? Dalho asked. Then we're going to make sure you never threaten another world again, Jisoo said. Over the next few hours, Jisoo and her friends took control of the entire ship. The Rattel who fought were locked up. Those who helped were allowed to keep working under watch. Taiyan was found in the science lab. When guards brought her to Jisoo, the scientist didn't look scared. I knew you were special, Taiyan said, but I didn't know how special until now. Why did the Rattel do this? Jisoo asked. Why take fighters from other worlds? Taiyan looked down. Long ago, the Rattel were the ones in cages. A powerful race called the Vor kept us as slaves and made us fight. When we finally rose up and defeated them, we took their ships. But instead of being better, we became like them. Jisoo thought about this. So you became the very thing you hated. Yes, Taiyan admitted. Not all of us wanted this. Some, like Junho, spoke against it. They were punished. Later, Jisoo met with her closest allies in what had been Dalho's private room. They had found the ship's star maps and were planning their next moves. The ship can take us to all the home worlds of the fighters, Junho explained. It will take time, but we can return everyone. Good, Jisoo said. And what about Earth? Junho showed her a screen with a star map. He pointed to a small blue dot. This is your world. It is far from here, but we can reach it. Jisoo stared at the tiny image of her home planet. How soon can we get there? 2 months, maybe less, Junho said. Jisoo nodded. And the Rattel? What do we do with them? Myru's voice spoke in all their minds. We could take them to their home world. Let their own people judge them for what they've done. I agree, Sun Wu said. And we should share what we've learned with all worlds. Let them know about the Rattel so they can protect themselves. Jisoo looked out a window at the stars. Yes, no world should have to go through what we did. No one should be locked in a cage with monsters ever again. Jisoo stood in the arena, breathing hard. At her feet lay a huge snake-like creature with 12 eyes and acid blood. The crowd was on their feet, making loud noises of surprise and excitement. Tier 5 complete. The announcer called out. Human specimen 7729 advances to Tier 6. Guards came to take Jisoo back to her cell. As they walked, she heard the Rattel talking among themselves. Dalho has lost much money on this human, one said. He is angry. Taiyan wants to study her more before the next fight, said another. There must be something special about this one. Instead of going to her cell, the guards took Jisoo to a new room. It was filled with strange machines and bright lights. Taiyan was waiting there with 3 other Rattel in white coats. Secure the specimen, Taiyan ordered. The guards pushed Jisoo onto a cold metal table and locked metal bands around her wrists and ankles. What are you doing? Jisoo asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Learning, Taiyan answered. Your species is more interesting than we thought. For the next few hours, the Rattel scientists ran tests on Jisoo. They took blood samples. They put small machines on her head that made pictures of her brain. They tested how strong she was and how fast she could react. Jisoo stayed calm. She used the time to look around the lab, noting where the doors were and what kind of tools the Rattel had. As Taiyan worked, Jisoo asked questions. At first, the alien ignored her, but slowly began to answer. Why do you do this? Why make us fight? Jisoo asked. It is our way, Taeyeon said. The strongest survive. The weak do not. This is the law of nature on all worlds. And what happens to fighters who win all 10 tiers? Jisoo asked, though Miru had told her no one ever had. Taeyeon looked at her with all 4 eyes. They earned their freedom, but none have done this. Tier 10 is where our champions fight. No one beats a Ratel champion. While Taeyeon was checking a machine, another scientist came into the room. He spoke quickly to Taeyeon in their clicking language. Jisoo couldn't understand the words, but she saw Taeyeon get excited. The scientist showed Taeyeon something on a small screen. Jisoo strained to see what it was. Her heart froze when she caught a glimpse. It was a picture of Earth. Yes, add it to the hunting database, Taeyeon said. If one human is this good, we should collect more. Prepare a ship to visit this world. Jisoo felt cold fear spread through her body. The Ratel were planning to go to Earth. They would take more humans. They would make them fight and die for fun. When the tests were done, the guards took Jisoo back to her cell. She sat on her bed, her mind racing. This was no longer just about her survival. Her whole planet was in danger. That night, when the lights dimmed, Jisoo called to Miru through the wall. I need to escape, she whispered. The Ratel are planning to go to my world. I have to stop them. Escape is impossible, Miru's voice said in her mind. The ship is huge. There are thousands of Ratel. I must try, Jisoo said. Will you help me? There was a long silence. Then, yes, and I know someone else who can help. His name is Junho. He was once a Ratel engineer before he spoke against the arena system. Now he is a prisoner in Tier 4. Can you reach his mind from here? Jisoo asked. Yes, Miru said. He knows how the ship works, how the doors lock, how the guards move. Jisoo nodded. Good. Tell Sun Woo too. We 4 will make a plan. She looked at the small pile of items she had collected from the arena. They didn't look like much, but in the right hands, even simple things could become weapons. Jisoo thought of Earth, of her home, of all the people who didn't know they were in danger. Her hands tightened into fists. The Ratel thought they had locked her in a cage with monsters. They would soon learn that she was the most dangerous monster of all. Tier 8 match. The announcer's voice boomed through the arena. Human specimen 7729 versus the shapeshifter. The crowd was huge now. Word had spread about the human who kept winning. Aliens of many kinds filled the seats to watch Jisoo fight. In the 2 weeks since learning about the Ratel's plans for Earth, Jisoo had won her Tier 6 and Tier 7 matches. She had also been planning with her friends. Junho, the former Ratel engineer, had sent her information through Miru's mind speaking. They were almost ready. But first, she had to survive this fight. The door across the arena opened, and a strange mist floated out. The crowd grew quiet. Even the Ratel looked nervous. What is that? Jisoo asked the guard next to her. The shapeshifter, the guard said. It has killed over 300 fighters. No one has ever hurt it badly enough to stop it. The mist moved to the center of the arena, then began to take form. It changed into a large creature with sharp claws and teeth, like a mix of all the deadliest parts of other fighters. Jisoo studied it carefully. This would be her hardest fight yet. Dalho stood up in his special box. This human has been lucky, he called out. But luck ends today. The shapeshifter cannot be beaten. The crowd cheered. Jisoo looked up at Dalho and saw the hate in his 4 eyes. He had lost a lot of money betting against her. The fight began. The shapeshifter moved fast, coming at Jisoo with its claws out. She dodged, but just barely. A claw caught her arm, cutting it. Jisoo ran to the side of the arena. The shapeshifter followed, changing its form as it moved. Now it had long legs for running and a stretched body like a hunting cat. It learns, Jisoo thought. It changes to match what it needs. For the next 10 minutes, Jisoo stayed just ahead of the creature. She watched how it moved and changed. She saw that each time it changed shape, it paused for a moment. As she ran, Jisoo tapped her fingers against her leg. 1, 2, 3, pause. 1, 2, 3, pause. Mei-ryu would see this through the cameras and understand. It was the signal they had planned. Across the ship, Mei-ryu saw Jisoo's signal and sent a message to Junho and Sunwoo with her mind. She's ready. 3 hours until we move. Back in the arena, Jisoo was getting tired. The shapeshifter didn't seem to get tired at all. She needed to end this fight soon. Jisoo moved to a part of the arena where a metal plate was loose on the floor. She had noticed it in an earlier fight. Now she stomped on it hard, making it pop up. She grabbed the plate and held it like a shield. The shapeshifter changed again, growing larger with a heavy front part like a battering ram. It charged at Jisoo. She waited until the last second, then dropped to the ground and held the metal plate up. The shapeshifter ran into the plate with full force. The sharp edge cut deep into it. Black fluid spilled out. The creature screamed and backed away. It tried to change form again, but the cut was too deep. Parts of its body began to melt. Jisoo didn't wait. She ran forward and drove the metal plate deeper into the shapeshifter. More black fluid poured out. The creature's shape began to fall apart. The arena was completely silent. No one had ever seen the shapeshifter hurt before. With one last push, Jisoo drove the metal plate all the way through the creature. It made a high sound like air escaping, then collapsed into a puddle of black ooze. Jisoo stood there, breathing hard, covered in black fluid and her own blood. She looked up at Dalvo, whose mouth was open in shock. Then Jisoo did something that scared everyone watching. She smiled and spoke loudly enough for all to hear. "Who's next?" The crowd backed away from the edge of the arena. The guards came in carefully to take Jisoo away. She went quietly, still smiling. The Rattel didn't know it yet, but Jisoo had just shown them only a small part of what humans could do when pushed too far. In 3 hours, they would learn much more. Jisoo Kim woke up with a pounding head. Her eyes opened to bright white light that hurt to look at. She tried to move her arms, but they were tied down. This was not the forest where she had been on patrol. "Where am I?" she thought, trying to remember what had happened. Jisoo was a soldier, one of the best in Korea's special forces. She had been on a solo mission, watching for movement in the mountains. There had been a light in the sky. Then nothing. Now she was here. The room she was in had white walls and a clear door. It looked like a cell. Jisoo pulled at the straps holding her down. They were strong but not impossible to break. She worked at them until her right hand came free. A sound made her freeze. Something was moving outside her cell. Jisoo quickly shut her eyes, pretending to still be asleep. Heavy footsteps came closer. Then a voice spoke, but not in any language Jisoo had ever heard. It was deep and full of clicks and hums. She opened one eye, just a tiny bit. What she saw made her blood run cold. 2 tall figures stood outside her cell. They had rough, brown skin that looked like armor. Their heads were pointed with 4 eyes on each side. They had arms like humans, but with claws instead of hands. They wore metal devices on their chests that glowed blue. They were not human. They were not from Earth. "Specimen 7729 has good physical traits," said one of the creatures. A small box on its chest translated its words into basic English. "Strong for a human. Good muscle tone." "Humans are weak," said the other. "This one will not last one match in the crucible." "Dalho wants to see this one fight the Kraz beast first," said the first alien. "He thinks it will be funny to watch." The aliens laughed, a terrible sound like metal grinding. Then they walked away. When they were gone, Jisoo opened her eyes fully and quickly undid her other restraints. Her mind was racing. Aliens had taken her. She was a prisoner. And what was this crucible they talked about? Jisoo stood up on shaky legs. Her uniform was gone, replaced by a simple gray outfit with no pockets or tools. She walked to the clear door and looked out. What she saw made her gasp. The hallway outside was lined with cells just like hers, but what was in those cells made her heart beat faster. In one, a massive creature covered in spines paced back and forth. In another, something with too many legs hung from the ceiling. Cell after cell held monsters from nightmares. The hallway curved around, and Jisoo could see that she was in a massive circular room with hundreds of cells, and in every cell was a different alien creature. Some looked almost human. Others were nothing like anything on Earth. Some had multiple limbs, others had none. Some had fur, scales, or nothing but bone. All looked dangerous. "I'm in a zoo," Jisoo whispered to herself. No, not a zoo. A collection. She backed away from the door and sat on the simple bed. She needed to think, to plan. She was trained for survival in enemy territory, but this was beyond anything in her training. A small camera in the corner of her cell turned to watch her. Jisoo stared back at it, her face calm even as her mind worked quickly. They had taken her from Earth. They thought humans were weak. They planned to make her fight in something called the Crucible. Jisoo took a deep breath and slowly let it out. They thought she was weak. That was their first mistake. She was not going to be a specimen. She was not going to be prey. Jisoo Kim was a hunter. And soon, these aliens would learn just how dangerous humans could be. 3 days passed in the white cell. Jisoo counted each meal to keep track of time. She exercised when no one was watching. Push-ups, sit-ups, and stretches to keep her body ready. On the 4th day, the door to her cell slid open. 4 of the brown-skinned aliens stood there with long sticks that sparked with electricity. "Specimen 7729, step forward," said one alien through its translator. "It is time for your first match." Jisoo did not resist. She needed to learn more about this place. The aliens put metal cuffs on her wrists and led her down the curved hallway. They passed many cells. Some creatures roared or hissed as they walked by. Others watched in silence with strange eyes. Jisoo memorized everything she saw. Every turn, every door, every guard post. Finally, they'd reached a large metal door. One alien pressed its claw to a panel, and the door slid open to reveal a small waiting room. "The rules of the Crucible are simple," said the lead alien. "You fight until one creature cannot fight anymore. If you win, you move to the next tier. If you lose, you die." The alien made that terrible grinding laugh again. "Humans never make it past tier 1. Jisoo said nothing. She was busy looking at the screens on the wall. They showed a large round arena with high walls. Hundreds of aliens sat in seats around it, watching and making noise. "That is Dalho," said another alien, pointing to a large alien in fancy clothes sitting in a special box above the arena. "He runs the Crucible. He has bet much money that you will die in less than 5 minutes." The aliens laughed together. Jisoo kept her face blank, but inside her mind was working fast. These aliens enjoyed watching creatures fight. They made bets on the fights. This was not a science experiment. This was entertainment. A loud sound came from the arena, and the crowd roared. On the screen, Jisoo saw a 6-legged creature with sharp teeth standing over the broken body of something that looked like a giant insect. "The Kraz beast wins again," said the lead alien. "Now it is your turn, human." They pushed Jisoo toward another door that led directly into the arena. Before they opened it, one alien leaned close to Jisoo. "I am Taeyeon," it said quietly. "Not all of us enjoy this. Some of us study the fighters to learn. You are interesting to me. Show me what humans can do." Jisoo looked at Taeyeon with surprise, but before she could respond, the door slid open. The aliens pushed her into the bright lights of the arena. The crowd's noise hit her like a wave. Thousands of different alien voices shouting and clicking and whistling. The arena floor was covered in sand, and dried blood of many colors stained it. Jisoo looked up at the high walls, too high to climb. She looked at the doors around the edge, all closed and guarded. There was no easy escape. A voice boomed over speakers in many languages, finally coming in English. Tier 1 match. The Kraz Beast versus Human Specimen 7729. The crowd laughed and jeered. Jisoo saw Dalho in his box, talking and laughing with other well-dressed aliens. A door across the arena opened, and the six-legged Kraz Beast came out. It was twice Jisoo's size, with thick gray skin and a mouth full of teeth like knives. It saw Jisoo and roared, spraying spit across the sand. Jisoo had no weapons, no armor, just her training and her mind. The beast charged at her, its heavy feet shaking the ground. The crowd cheered, expecting a quick and bloody end. Jisoo took a deep breath and settled into a fighting stance. The aliens thought humans were weak. They thought she would die quickly. It was time to show them how wrong they were. As the beast reached her, Jisoo moved with the speed and grace that had made her the best in her unit. She was ready to fight. She was ready to survive.